I would say sometimes it seems like they're on a spectrum as opposed to being two different, completely different things. But basically, quantitative research involves quantities, so numbers. It's focused on hypothesis testing and being able to use statistical significant tests or modeling to answer a specific research question. That's often usually a yes or no question. Qualitative research is more about trying to explore deeper and dive deeper. So qualitative is often what you do when you don't even know what question, yes or no question you want to answer. So it's often using interviews or found data like Twitter feeds to explore themes and meaning and processes. Scientists often use qualitative research to either understand quantitative research better or to come up with ways to identify factors or themes or phenomena that we just wouldn't even know existed without doing the qualitative research first. Qualitative questions I ask, for example, are if I did a violence prevention program and then I found out that it didn't work the way I wanted it to, I might go back to the adolescents who are in the program and ask questions like, did you use the skills that were taught in this intervention? How did you use those skills? What happened after you used them? Based on what happened, do you think that you would use it again? What would need to happen? Under what situations would you actually try to use it? Why aren't you using it? So you're trying to go deeper to understand something that we don't even really even know how to ask the question for quantitatively, or we get a answer that we don't really understand how to interpret quantitatively. So one question I have is related to gun injuries and gun injury prevention. One question that we have related to that is, how do people use guns? How do they relate to guns? What factors predict the extent to which people secure guns in different ways, and that kind of we would anticipate would relate to what their use of guns is, what their motivations for using guns is. We want to start out with doing a series of focus groups and qualitative interviews to understand how people are using guns, what their attitudes, values, beliefs, and practices are around guns. And then after we kind of do that open-ended interviewing focus groups, then we can use the information that we get there to create survey instruments that could ask those questions on a broader scale, so that we could follow up and say, okay, this is what the themes that we're noticing in this group of people. Do these themes actually predict risk factors for gun injuries, or are they completely unrelated? And then we would need to go back to the drawing board. That's a specific example. More broadly to think about is that you can start out with quantitative research, find an answer that you need to explain, and move into qualitative research. Or you could start with qualitative research, then come up with a hypothesis and use quantitative research to test it. Or you can use them simultaneously to inform each other. If I'm getting feedback as I'm implementing an intervention, I can rapidly add that information into my intervention or into the measures that I'm using to assess my intervention. The important thing to think about with CBPR is that you have research partners who are members of the community, who are engaged in all the decision-making processes. Those community research partners may or may not be the subjects of the research, and oftentimes are not the subjects of the research, which they would be in qualitative research. We hope that by taking a community-based participatory research approach, that it results in interventions that are going to be more long-lasting, more sustainable, more appropriate for the population, because you've engaged members of the community throughout the process.